Hello, and welcome back to your favorite podcast, Spilling the Tea Leaves. Okay, so if you are watching this podcast where you normally listen to your other podcasts, so like Spotify or Apple Podcasts, this might sound like a normal episode. But if you consume this podcast on YouTube, yeah, this is new. You can see me. I have not recorded my face or recorded myself recording a podcast episode in forever, and totally cool. It's fine. This is a thing. This is a new style that we are trying because you are my friend and I trust you, so I can try this new style out. Well, not technically new, because when we first started this podcast, I had a co-host. They have since moved on to other things, so I didn't really see a need to record myself recording a podcast. But I heard y'all like this, so we're trying it, and yeah, we'll see how this goes. Anyways, today's going to be a little bit of a heavier episode. We are going to talk about a lot of heavy topics, including SA and the R word, and we're going to dive into some problematic healers within the New Age community. This all got triggered by the Russell Brand controversy. I had a lot of DMs and a lot of people asking me my opinion, which, I mean, really, who am I? But it did kind of make me realize that for those of you who are just coming into this space, that there isn't a awareness of the number of problematic healers, self-help people, spiritual leaders, gurus within this space, even small ones. So we're going to jump right into that. If you are in a space that you're not able to handle those topics for right now, if you are triggered by topics like this, you can totally skip this episode. I'll give you the condensed version. Condensed version is, I would say, follow your guts. Check in on yourself often. I will be putting links at the bottom of in this description of this show that you can seek help. Try to put yourself on an outside perspective. If there are folks telling you, hey, this is wrong, or there's something going on here that you should be aware of, it's a good thing to listen. So yeah, let's go ahead and jump right in. I'm gonna stick an intro here, and then I'll see you on the other side. Hey there, and welcome back to your favorite podcast, Spilling the Tea Leaves. My name is Michelle, and here we're talking about spirituality, your spiritual journey, crystals, energy, and all things soul connected. So grab your cup of tea or coffee if that's more your style, and sit with me for a minute. Let's chat about what you're looking for in your spiritual life, and maybe you'll find it here. So I'm going to vent with you for a minute because I just recorded this entire episode only for me to look back at my computer and realize it wasn't recording. So now you get the joy of me looking at my screen every 30 seconds to make sure that it is still recording. And since you are my friend, now we are looking at this together. Welcome back. Thank you so much for deciding to take part in the next part of this episode. I am really excited to try this new style, and now you get to see me look at my screen every 30 seconds. Okay. So I got a ton of messages and a ton of DMs about the Russell Brand story. And before I even get started, I want to say this. Just because you are a person that is healing, or a person that is in the healing process, or a process of self-exploration, does not mean that you cannot inspire others. It does not mean that you cannot bring a message of inspiration and self-exploration for others. It does not mean that you do not get to speak in this spiritual space. When I say New Age, I am talking about the spiritual space. I'm talking about the wellness community. I'm talking about the alternative healing. I am talking about all the things that are spirit-centered, wellness-centered when it comes to the soul. I fully realize New Age is not new, and it is a term that we have adopted, so I will continue using the word new age to describe this space. Okay. For those of you that don't know, Russell Brand is an actor / comedian who I don't find very funny. And he has since in the last few years moved into this new age wellness space. He has recently been sort of sliding into this very right-wing rhetoric. I don't talk about politics on the podcast. I don't care what you believe in. You can I do not care. Just be very clear. I say that because that rhetoric is very anti-establishment, anti-vaccines, anti-traditional medicine, and it's not something that I personally believe in, and I understand folks do that, but it goes hand in hand with the rest of the podcast, so you can have a little bit of background to it. So last week, the documentary came out talking about and accusing him of a lot of sexual misconduct, including SA and the big R word. He has dating a 16-year-old child, because a 16-year-old is still a child. Our brains aren't even fully developed. And having inappropriate contact with women throughout his entertainment career. He's known for very vulgar jokes, for being like larger than life. And he has admitted to doing drugs, to having an alcohol problem, being an addict, a substance addict, and then sort of transferring that addiction into a sexual addiction. I guess he wrote a book about it. He says he wrote a book about it where he fully admitted to everything. Again, just because you're a person with a past, because you're a person healing, doesn't mean you can't provide valuable inspiration to others. But this is where I think a lot of people get stuck. Even though you have a past, we all have a past. Even though you have a past, does not mean you are absolved from those actions from your past. Some actions are a lot heavier than others. And if you have committed actions that have brought harm to others, you have consequences. There are consequences to your actions, and he is no exception. I always hesitate when celebrities come into the new age spiritual realm. Gwyneth Paltrow, for example, is one. She's come into this space and she advocates for what is considered very unhealthy techniques, limiting food into your body, limiting food intake, where she says that she gets maybe like bone broth for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. She might have like a slice of onion, some ridiculous thing like that. For selling yoni eggs at a very expensive price, might I add. And there are safety concerns with yoni eggs. Only trust a professional, a seller of yoni eggs. I have a blog post on my website, rememberlovehealing.com, that talks about the dangers of yoni eggs when done wrong. It can be awful. She sells, not only is she advocating for these unhealthy, it's almost like she's cherry picking the most unhealthy habits within the wellness community and then monetizing it, taking advantage of her followings, of her career, in order to monetize this space. You have Jim Carrey is another one that's come into this space talking about self-help and healing and stuff like that. I personally like Jim Carrey as an actor. Again, I'm always weary when they're starting to come into the space and start, being known for healing and things like that. Again, not that they can't heal. It's just I'm always wary of it. Will Smith is another one that advocates for like love and light and all these wonderful things. Don't get me wrong, they're wonderful things. But again, I get apprehensive because they already have a persona that's very, very charismatic, and people just follow blindly without questioning it. That's where I really, really, really get stuck. So when all these Russell Brand accusations have started coming out, I took a look at their profile, and it's just so much support. Like, we believe in you, don't worry, it's okay, the collective consciousness will protect you, which I don't even know what that means, because that makes no sense. So much growth, we're so proud of you. And I mean, I'm like, okay, hold on, is this what happens? I mean, such a slippery slope, especially when in the spiritual community, which is how cults get started, right? Where people are like, no, 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 that's my guy. That's my guy. That's my guy. He absolutely not. I believe him. But if he did it, it's okay. You know, that's no big deal. That's not how it works. That's absolutely how it works. And you can disagree with me. That's totally fine. I love a good discourse. But that's not how it works. You're still responsible for your actions, even if you did them in the past. In the New Age community, there is a power dynamic. In any spiritual realm, whether it be traditional religion, whether it be within cultures, there is a power dynamic. And this is no exception. When you are coming into a space where you are for example, celebrity, and you already have a following, there's a power dynamic between you and your followers. You're putting yourself up here while your followers are down here, and they're just looking up at you and listening. If you are a male, there's already a power dynamic that's been set up by our society, where you have more power over a lot of, especially women, and especially women that are coming into a space that are sometimes very fragile, and there's a search for a sisterhood, a community, and you're putting yourself in a space of control. I have a list of gurus, healers, teachers that have been accused and convicted of very, very heavy crimes. Now, these spiritual gurus have been, like I said, either accused or convicted of very horrible, horrible crimes. And some of these you might recognize. Osho, I believe he died in 91. If you Google spiritual quote, if you go on Pinterest and you type in New Age quote, you're going to find this guy. He is an Indian guru. He faced a lot of controversies. He was connected to a commune in Oregon. He was accused of tax evasion, large-scale immigration fraud, and a bioterror attack on the local community. John of God, which is a Netflix documentary that I highly recommend that you watch. He was a Brazilian spiritual leader. He was accused of sexually abusing numerous women who sought his services for healing. He was arrested in 2018 on charges of sexual assault and rape. Asaram Bapu, an Indian guru, he was convicted in 2018 of raping a teenage girl. Aside from being involved in various legal issues and controversies, Keith Rainier, I'm sure we've heard of him. He's been in the news a lot recently, the leader of NXIVM, which was a self-help organization. He was convicted in 2019, including for crimes such as sex trafficking, racketeering, conspiracy. I remember watching that documentary, and he was branding women, and the way he brainwashed these people was just horrific. James Arthur, a self-help guru. Notice how a lot of these are men, by the way. Ray was convicted of negligent homicide in 2011, stemming from a sweat lodge ceremony. That was a really horrible, tragic case. Let's see. Bentina Massaro, he's a modern spiritual teacher. He's faced criticism and accusations from former followers, including allegations of manipulative behavior. David Koresh, leader of the Branch Davidians, that's Waco in 93. Elizabeth Clare, she has a teaching of apocalyptic, like the end of times, the end of the world, and has been was stockpiling weapons in preparation for the end of times. I mean, I could go on. Bikram Bikram. Bikram Chaudhry, the founder of Bikram Yoga. Again, another amazing Netflix documentary that I highly encourage you to watch. He has faced multiple lawsuits and accusations of sexual harassment. He actually fled the US in 2016. Jay-Z Knight, she was accused of brainwashing her organization. Jim Baker, remember him? Father Yod, the leader of Source family cults, faced legal issues. Teal Swan. I know, Teal Swan. Teal Swan is a modern spiritual teacher. She's actually shared a few of my posts on her social media. And Teal Swan is definitely somebody that once you're coming into the space, you are probably going to find first. She is huge. She has a very large following, huge voice, gorgeous woman. She has faced a lot of controversies, a lot of expose pieces have been done on a swan. I've heard that she's very quick to sue or quick to contact her, having her lawyers contact you. So I'm going to be very mindful of what I say. Now, these are all accusations. She has not been charged with anything. I don't believe she even lives in the country. I believe she lives in Costa Rica. The accusations, allegedly, is that she encourages or advocates for permanent self-harm, so unaliving yourself in order for you to just go ahead and start over in the next lifetime, and brainwashing her followers. Again, all accusations. I don't know. If you Google her name and you Google Teal Swan controversy, you will be able to find a lot of journalists doing research and interviewing folks from her past that absolutely do not support any of the stories that she has shared with her followers. Sometimes her messages are just amazing, and I understand why people are like, okay, this sounds really good, I can get into this, and not so much the other stuff, but the message is so heavy that they just blindly follow. And again, that's the problem, when you're blindly following the messenger. Now, there's so many, absolutely so many healers and teachers and spiritual leaders who are putting themselves first or placing their followers in a predicament where now their followers are giving up something, either financially, personally. They're giving something up in themselves, a lot, giving up families. I know leaders will say, you know what, if your family doesn't support you, you don't need them, just leave them. And that is a very big form of self-sacrifice, and that's a huge red flag. That's a huge red flag. If you are being told to give something up, to give up your rights, your self-autonomy, your material things, your family, your friends, just leave. Leave right now. You don't need that. You do not need it. You absolutely do not need it. This is literally how cults get started. And then there's that sunk cost fallacy that you're just like, well, I've invested so much into this, I have nothing else to go back to, like, where I'm just going to stay here. And that's exactly what they're counting on. That's exactly what they're counting on. Pay attention to the warning signs. If there's accusations, if there is controversy, step back. You're not winning a prize for following somebody online. You're not winning a prize for being the, number one follower for whoever that you're following. That's not what any of this is about. This is about self-exploration. This is about assessing your values. This is about your time here on this earthly realm. And you are so important and so loved. You don't need the validation from one charismatic person to tell you that you matter and that you're valued and that you should be here. The New Age community should absolutely hold these spiritual teachers and leaders accountable. And I don't know if it's because we feel that it's not ours. So if I don't follow Russell Brand, I don't care for the guy, never liked the guy, but he should absolutely be held responsible for his actions. And I will be advocating for that. I will be that voice that says, no, this isn't right. Just because I don't follow him does not mean that I'm not going to advocate for my community, because he unfortunately is part of the space, and the space is so large. There is space for everybody. And I don't think we do that in the community enough. We stay in our little bubble, we stay with a little group, and we don't look elsewhere, and we don't support each other that are going on their own self-explorations. We are having this human experience in this isolated bubble and not looking beyond and saying, I know you're doing the same thing, and I know you're going through your own self-exploration process, and I want to support you. But for some reason, we're compartmentalizing ourselves into these little pockets and not seeing that we're all in this process together. And that's what I said. Spirituality, I teach and advocate and inspire and help inspire and teach for you, for your own spirituality, whatever that looks like for the individual. I say that all the time, whatever that looks like for you. If you want to follow traditional religion, I'm here for it. I got you. Let's go. Talk to me. I'm going to include some resources in this podcast notes. So if you feel that you might be in a situation that is not healthy, if you feel that you might be stuck in unhealthy patterns with a spiritual leader, spiritual teacher, I'm going to add notes here. So please, please, please just click on the notes, take a look, have a phone call, email, whatever it is, and get yourself out if possible. I want to make sure that you are constantly checking in with yourself, that you're constantly checking in with your values, that you're in a space that you can say, this is healthy for me mentally, physically, spiritually, emotionally. I want you to check into with yourself if there are accusations, or if there is talk of this person is not good, or this person has done harm. And if you're able to disconnect, awesome. I'm so proud of you. If you're not able to disconnect, then you might need some resources to get the help that you need to leave. Don't kill the messenger, but don't idolize the messenger either. Idolize the messenger. It's not one person has the answer. You might have information from various different sources to make up the essence of who you are, or who you want to be, or who you want to explore. I know this is a little heavy. I don't like this one so much, but it's something that we do have to talk about, and I haven't heard anybody else talking about it, unfortunately, so I'm going to do it. I have so many episodes ready for you guys. I just have to record them. I know. I got a lot of things to do. Anyways, thank you so much for joining me on this episode. And the sun is coming out. I'm so excited. It's been gloomy these past few days. I'm super excited the sun's coming out. Thank you so much for joining me on this episode. Again, my name is Michelle. You can find me online at rememberlovehealing.com, or you can also find me on Instagram at rememberlove. This podcast is fully self-sustainable. Well, not really. I don't get paid for this. So if you want to help, please leave a comment on the show, wherever you listen to your podcast. If you want to leave a comment on YouTube channel, I would love to see your name. Make sure you subscribe, and I guess ring the bell for notifications. Ding the bell, click the bell for notifications. I don't know what you do. What do you do on the YouTubes? Do all the YouTube-y things. How about that? If today's your birthday, happy birthday. I am so happy you're here. Please tell me how old you are. I love a good birthday. If you want to buy merch, you can go to spillingthetealeaves.com. If you want to buy me a coffee, go to rememberlovehealing.com. If you want to support me, again, leave a comment. So excited that you're here. Thank you so much for joining me, and I will see you next time. Love and light.